Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and get started, and people might filter in as the afternoon goes on. But thank you, folks, for being here. And my name is Professor Neitz. I teach business associations and professional responsibility and to the upper division students. I'm also the director of the externship program here at the law school. And thank you for your interest in working for judges. I'm here and we're wearing two hats. One of them is as the externship director, but the other hat that I'm wearing is that of someone who clerked in federal court and who worked for judges in law school. As I said earlier, I worked for the Justice Department, immigration courts, and was able to get a writing sample out of that position, a job I had when I was a second-year law student in the fall of my second year. I turned that into a writing sample that I used to apply for federal clerkships in California, and I got a lot of interest in my writing sample because it was something I had actually written for a judge, and I sent it to the judges and said, here's how I write when I disagree with both the logic and reasoning and the ultimate result of the judge's decision. This is how I would write for you even if I disagreed with you. And it was an asylum case in which the judge was sending a woman back to Bangladesh. And I got a lot of interest from judges saying, that's interesting, you've already had that experience of being a clerk who doesn't like what the judge wants to do. Let's think about how you would work in my chambers with that experience. So that's one of the reasons that I recommend judicial externships, but there's a much more crass and basic reason, which is it is the most prestigious thing that you can have on your resume as a law student. This is it, folks. If you want prestige, if you want to have a leg up on the competition when you are trying to be employed, a judicial externship tells a prospective employer three things. The first is that you have done well in school to the point that you were qualified to have a judicial externship. The second thing is that you understand how chambers work. You know what it's like to work for a judge. You know the ins and outs. And the third thing, and the most important thing, is that it shows prospective employers that you know how to write. Without a judicial externship, you certainly can show prospective employers that you know how to write, but there is prestige to having a writing sample that has come out of a judicial externship. And for that reason, if nothing else, it's a really great opportunity for you to do. So let's talk about what an externship is. An externship is basically a field placement. You go out of the law school to earn academic credit. So you earn 1 unit of credit for every 45 hours of work that you do. And you can have externships in all sorts of places. You can have them in nonprofits, in for-profits, in law firms, in DA offices, public defender offices, and of course with judges. And Theresa is our expert on judicial externship placements. So let's talk about how you get this credit. You can earn 2 to 13 units in the fall or spring, whatever works with your schedule. And you can earn between 2 and 8 units in the summer. So you can choose to do your externship any semester that you would want to do and still get academic credit for it. You have to enroll in an externship class. This is an ABA requirement. But in the externship class you enroll in, you'll be surrounded by your fellow GGU students who are working for other judges. And so it's actually a great networking opportunity in addition to being a good use of your time in terms of getting the most out of your judicial experience. And you can only take 13 units of externship throughout your law school career. So if you just spent a whole year doing externships, you're not going to be able to do the judicial externships. Welcome. So far we've just covered why we should do judicial externships and who is eligible for it. With judges, there is not surprisingly, a GPA requirement, which is a 2.5 GPA for state judges and a 2.75 GPA for federal or appellate judges. So if you meet the GPA requirement, I highly suggest you think about doing this and in fact applying for them to see if you can get one of these prestigious externships. So you have to also have taken evidence, or you have to take evidence at the time of your judicial externship, and that's obvious, right? If you're in court hearing hearsay objections, we want you to understand what the hearsay objections are that you're hearing. So if you're interested in securing this externship, a judicial externship, you would have to secure the judicial externship first, and then you enroll in the class, and Theresa's going to talk more about the nuts and bolts of exactly how that happens. We have local judges here in the Bay Area. You can also gain credit at Golden Gate for working for a judge outside of the Bay Area in any state in the union. We actually have an opportunity this summer,
Yes.
to work for a judge in Paris. So anybody who wants to go to Paris and earn academic credit working for an international judge, that's an opportunity available to you as well. If you're thinking about doing this, and you know people are thinking about doing this, here's what I recommend. Here's why I think it's a great idea for you to consider talking about this with your friends and applying for this yourself. As I said, you're going to get all that stuff, the top 3 reasons that a judge is going to want, that a judicial externship will help your resume. In addition to the writing, you're also going to have the networking. So you're not just going to be working for the judge, you're going to see all the lawyers who come to argue before the judge, and you're going to get the chance to meet some of these lawyers. If you're someone who feels like, I don't have a lot of contacts in San Francisco, I don't really know much about networking here, this is your chance to meet lawyers in San Francisco, and to do so through the prism of sitting behind the bench or next to the bench instead of in front of the bench. If you want to be a litigator, it's a nearly priceless opportunity to have on your resume, to understand how a judge thinks. That's who law firms want to hire, right? That's why when I came coming out of a federal clerkship, other firms wanted to hire me because they wanted me to tell them how the federal judges think when they approach a case, and I was in a position to be able to do that. So I really recommend it. You can also work for specialty courts if you have an interest in mental health court, in drug court, if you want to work in family court, in criminal court. If you have an expertise that you want to develop, there are specialized courts you can work in and get academic credit for that as well. So you'll see a trial from start to finish. You might be able to sit in on settlement conferences. All aspects of the trial experience you'll get to see working for judges. So it really is an invaluable experience, and we really hope that you'll take advantage of it. When people come to me for career advice and they say, I don't really know what I want to do with my law degree, I tell them, go work for a judge for a semester. You'll learn what you like and what you don't, because of all the different types of cases that come through the door, especially in general, if you work for like Superior Court or Federal Court judge. You'll see all the different cases that come through the door. So with that, I hope I didn't miss anything.
No.
I need to go to a faculty meeting upstairs, so I apologize for having to leave, but Theresa is our expert on judicial externships, and I really thank you for your time. Thanks. By the way, my office is in the second floor faculty center. Come talk to me about externships. My hours are on Mondays and Fridays, so come on by whenever you have a chance. Thanks.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. How you guys doing? Who's going to apply for that externship in Paris? I want to go on that site visit. Come on now. I want to go. My son, I have a 5-year-old who loves trains, and there's a high-speed train in Paris, and he has said, you know, Mommy, can we go ride the TGV? And I don't speak French, and I need to find a way to get my kid onto the TGV, so come on now, get me to Paris. So I hope you guys will apply. So I am teaching the Judicial Externship class here at Golden Gate. My name is Theresa Walsib. While I was a law student here at Golden Gate, I did 3 judicial externships, 2 for the federal district courts and 1 for the U.S. Department of Labor. And I loved them. They weren't always easy. Some of you heard when I was here earlier that I had a judge who intimidated the heck out of me, but I learned a lot from him. And one of the things I learned, not only was he big and loud and intimidating, but he also liked to nap on his couch with his shoes off, with his socks sticking out in the doorway, and all of a sudden this big scary man was very, very human. And I got that first-hand look of how judges, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like all of us do. So yes, they can look intimidating up on their bench in court, but they are just like the rest of us. So that's just one of the very small things I learned working for the courts. I loved it so much that I did 2 years as a staff attorney with the U.S. Department of Labor, and then I followed that up with 1 year at San Francisco Superior Court. And from there, I jumped into litigation, and then I also have developed a writing career, so now I am a legal writer. So I have found that that experience not only set me up for a career in the courts, it also set me up for a career on the other side of the bench, doing litigation, and also an unconventional legal career, where people trust me as a researcher and as a writer, because I got to do that for our judges. So you can take this experience any way you want to. So mirroring or echoing some of what Michelle was saying earlier, that, hey, you're going to get a great writing sample. But not only that, you're going to see how the courts work. You're going to be able to network. You're going to understand these processes. You're going to see trials. You get to see voir dire. You get to see effective and ineffective closings and openings. All of this is terrific. This is hands-on learning, where then you get the inside of the judge. You watch something in open court, you go back in chambers, and the judge says, what did you think about that? And you get to hear the judge say, that was absolutely the wrong way to put that into evidence, but I gave him a break because of X, Y, Z, or whatever the reason is. So you get to hear that, and it's really terrific. Anybody here interested in settlements or ADR, doing more of that, mediation? Brilliant. So the DOL does a lot of settlements, and you get to sit in on a lot of those federal courts. If you want to work for a magistrate judge in federal court, we have one of the settlement gurus right here in San Francisco, Maria Elena James, who also teaches evidence here at Golden Gate, and she takes a lot of Golden Gate externs, so get to know her. She's a master at settlements, so if this is something you're interested in learning about, working with a magistrate judge at district court is one of the great ways you can do that. So I've stayed a long time on my big slide one here. My theme, of course, is judicial externships. For all cheesy, I know, but come on, it was late. My eye was twitching. I had to come up with something. All right, so Michelle was able to tell you a bit about the facts of the externship. You can take it for credit or for not. If you do take it for credit, then you must enroll in my course. And instead of sticking on that too much, I'm going to give you more, and then you can come up and talk to me later about how enrollment works. Opportunities. So we've told you what these placements can do for you, but where do you find them? No, that didn't work. Wrong finger. Okay. So how do you know about these opportunities or which court is right for you? Well, you're going to need to ask yourself a little about what you want out of this experience. Are you a strong writer? You want to develop writing skills to be a research attorney, to be an appellate attorney, to take an unconventional path with your legal career. Well, then maybe what you want to do is work more for the federal courts or for the appellate courts. All right. Do you want to work in criminal law? Is that your passion? Are you going to be a prosecutor or a defense attorney? Then you might want to look at the Hall of Justice. Start looking at those trial courts to get a lot of nuts and bolts of that experience. Are you passionate about family law? Great, work for a family law judge. How about veterans? Passionate about that? Well, there's a court for that. Mental health. Do you have a background in social work? Or perhaps not, but this is something you feel strongly about, you want to pursue it? Great, there are mental health courts, there are drug courts. Like I said, veterans courts, family courts, probate courts, whatever there, U.S. Department of Labor, that's employment. So if you are more interested, that's more labor issues rather than employment. But there's also the NLRB, where they also do judicial externships. So National Labor Relations Board, that would be more on the employment side versus the DOL, which is going to be more labor side. All right, so ask yourself that question first in getting this ball running for yourself. What do you want to get out of it? Perhaps you want to attack a weakness. You hate legal research. Hate it. But know that you're going to have to learn to love it in order to do what you've got to do. Well, this is a great way for you to be hit with legal research literally every single day, research assignments, and you're going to have to learn to love it. All right. So figure that out. Try to figure that out. And then, once you figure that out, you start looking. You guys are in one of the best places in the country to get judicial externships, because right down the street in Civic Center, we have the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, we have the California Supreme Court, we have the Northern District Court of Appeals. In San Jose and Oakland, we also have district courts of appeal. We have the trial courts right here in San Francisco, so San Francisco Superior and also the Hall of Justice. There's also immigration court. There's bankruptcy court here. I'm telling you, whatever you want to do, you probably don't have to commute for it. However, it's going to be competitive. So if you want a position in San Francisco proper, there are a lot of people in this pool who are also going to want to do so. Well, how can you have perhaps a better chance? Apply in Alameda County, Contra Costa County, San Mateo County, go down to Santa Clara, up to Marin County. I have an extern this semester working for 2 judges in Marin County. So you have many more judges and many more opportunities if you cast your net a little bit wider. Or go to Paris. Come on now. We've had externs work in The Hague. So, I mean, the world is your oyster with this. This is your law school, your experience. Ask yourself what you want to get out of this and then go for it. Take the initiative, start asking questions, start doing some research, and find that court. So one of these handouts here, I think it's the yellow page, basically has this list. And it's, you know, it's a bit of a dry list here, but, you know, the Ninth Circuit here, you have two opportunities. I'm talking about the federal judicial courts over here. So federal courts, Ninth Circuit, you could either work for a judge in chambers. Those are very, very exclusive externships to get. And you can also work for the Office of the Staff Attorneys. Do you know what that is? Basically, the Ninth Circuit has its own little law firm, is what it is. They have a cadre of lawyers who review petitions for appeal. Their main job is going to be to see whether or not the judges should take this up on appeal, and then they make the recommendation. Of course, they're not the gatekeeper to the judge, but they write all the memos on, all right, I think this should be heard by a panel of Ninth Circuit judges or should be denied. So they write those memos, and then they give oral presentation to the judges. And that is a great opportunity for those of you who want more oral advocacy type skills. You can do that kind of externship. And there are a good number of those positions available. U.S. District Court, as we mentioned, you can work for magistrate judges or you can work for Article III judges. Very, very little difference in what that court experience would be. Magistrates do tend to get more pretrial and a lot more settlement, but they'll get trials as well. And then the Article III judges tend to get the bigger trials, but it's kind of apples to tangerines, or oranges to tangerines. It's still a citrus. It's basically the same. There's bankruptcy court, of course. Now, some people might say, bankruptcy, I have no interest in banking, tax, that's not my bag. You'd be surprised. A lot of the underlying issues heard in bankruptcy court are really diverse. They tend to be a lot of criminal issues, embezzlement, these kinds of things going on. So you might just want to open that door a little and peek inside and see what's going on in bankruptcy court. You might really surprise yourself. Find how interesting bankruptcy can be. State judicial courts. All right, so once again, I'm not going to, I already talked about that. You've got a big list of what you can look into. And I'll show you where you can find more direct access into these courts after I get past these slides. But I want to encourage you that, hey, if you have family in Sonoma County and you can stay up there a couple of days a week type thing, great. Go reach out to a Sonoma County Superior Court judge or anywhere else. You don't have to limit yourself to the Bay Area. Federal administrative courts, these are things like the DOL, Department of Labor. Taking a breath. How is that different? You're still going to have a judge, you're still going to have a courtroom, but these are administrative issues, so they're going to be bound by regulations rather than all just federal or state statutes. So the law is going to be a little bit different, but don't let that intimidate you if you find that you might like it. For example, when I took my externship at the DOL, I'd never taken a class in regulatory or administrative law, and I'd never taken an employment law class. So all you need to learn, you're going to learn on the job. That is the purpose of an externship. Judges hire you to think. They're hiring you because you're smart, but they don't expect you to be an expert. They know you're a law student, and they want you to be mentored. They want to take you in and to teach you how to do this well. So they're not, for the most part, going to drop you in the deep end and say, figure out how to use the regulations now. They're going to help you. So then we have some other courts here. And instead of going over every single one, I just want to reiterate again that take that initiative to figure out what you like. Special education type issues are going to be heard by the Office of Administrative Hearings. So there's so many diverse experiences. Okay, so now that I've gone over some of these opportunities, where are you going to find the tools? And again, I know, a little cheesy, but where are you going to find it? Of course, LCS. They're here to help you here at Golden Gate. Court websites, and then everybody's favorite, networking. I have a friend who recently got married, and she says networking, it's kind of like going on first dates. So you've got to learn to love it. You just got to learn to love it if you are going to find the careers that are right for you in the legal profession. Especially, this is my opinion here, but in the Bay Area, it's competitive. And Golden Gate students are prepared, and we're great. And I have been able to carve a career path that has made me really happy. So you can have any success you want to have, but you do need to hustle a little bit, a lot. You gotta keep in contact with people, you have to shake hands, you have to be nice to the clerks, and be respectful and professional, because you never know where these opportunities are going to come up. I have one of the women I externed with, who was a peer of mine at Golden Gate. She did a settlement with our judge, so she was in the settlement room while that was happening, and one of the attorneys was so impressed with her that she slipped her card on the way out, and Amy got a great job with Roper's Majeski, a very prestigious law firm on the peninsula, right out of law school here from Golden Gate. So these are great opportunities for you to network, but you've also got to find those networking opportunities and keep asking where you can find these open clerkships and externships. Okay, how am I doing on time? I didn't want to keep you guys for longer than 12:21. All right, I'm going to try and finish by 12:30. Thank you. Okay, so LCS, I'm sure you're all familiar with that. Have you used it to find jobs at all? Or, yeah? Okay, so here we are, and I just took screenshots in order to keep it easy. But where you're going to find the most for judicial externships here is you're going to go up to the resource library. So this is the home page, click on research library, and from there, so this is resource. You're going to tag judicial externships and this in search, and this is what's going to come up. So the judges list, which is going to give you, it's an Excel spreadsheet, and it's going to give you over 100 judges and their contact information for here in the Bay Area. It's not everybody though. So it's a good starting spot. You could actually, go down quite a rabbit hole in it so much, but that's how you can do some contacts. Also, under judicial externships here is that green sheet. So you can either take one of those or pull it from right there, and it just gives you essential information on it. Now, why would you need to look at a judge's list when you've got a whole database here that's supposed to give you employment opportunities? Any ideas why? Yep.
They're not always listed.
Yes. Judges don't promote these positions because they don't have to. Rarely. I got a call last semester from Kristen Hoadley at the United Family Court in San Francisco saying, this is weird, but I haven't gotten any applications for spring. So we put the word out in Golden Gate. We now have 4 Golden Gate students externing with the United Family Court this semester. So that kind of thing can happen, where we get it on the pipeline and we can post them out, but for the most part, it's up to you guys. So that's the tricky part about these things. You gotta hustle a little in the beginning. So that this is going to help. Everyone in LCS is going to help. That's what we're here to do. Your professors are going to help you. So where else can you find this list if it's not updated? I've just pulled up on Google the San Francisco Superior Court website. It's the homepage. Every county court is going to have something very similar. And from here, general information, judicial assignments, and that's going to give you every contact right there. Are you going to be able to talk to the judge directly when you call them? No, of course not. You're going to get their court reporter, because many of them don't even have clerks with the budget cuts, especially in these county courts. But still, call, ask. Can I speak to one of the research attorneys? If if it's a clerk, when I mean clerk at San Francisco Superior Court, that generally means the clerk in the courtroom, not the research attorney. But ask, who can I speak to about externships? And then see if you can get a call back that way, all right? And then just, are there openings? Who do I speak to? Because they don't go through an HR department for the state courts. It's going to be directly to these judges. Is there an email address? Is there a career attorney on staff, like Kristen Hoadley? She's a career attorney who is going to be doing the hiring. So you have to do a little bit of that sleuthing, but why not, right? You're investigators as attorneys, so you've got to figure out what the story is. But yeah, it is work. You're going to have to do some work to get these. It's different for the federal courts. It's much more streamlined. So the screen I just had for you was a county state court, trial court. This is going to be Northern District of California. These are going to be the trial courts for federal. And they have right there career opportunities. From there you click that under career opportunities, applying for judicial externships. There it is. And I also just circled up there for you guys, there's a video. I have found almost every federal government video to be entirely cheesy, but you know, we can only do so much, right, with our funding. And from there, it tells you how to apply for judicial externships. So it's all right there on the website for you. This is the Ninth Circuit. Right there, employment. Am I going too fast? You guys good? Good? Okay. Externships is under the employment, but I really want you guys to see deadlines coming up. So that's for summer, January 31st. I think Susanna Ronowitz is doing some sort of a tour of the Ninth Circuit on Friday the 7th. So I wonder, I don't know if you'd be able to meet anyone there, but it might be helpful to just drop her a quick email if the Ninth Circuit is somewhere you're interested in working. Okay, so that's opportunities. Now I'm going to talk about application, or how to get your ducks in a row. Come on, I need to laugh. I was doing this at 11:30. Okay, application process. So, like I said, some of the courts are going to be highly specific on how they want your application. Follow the directions to a T. Almost always, if you don't do exactly what they say, they're not going to even look at it. There are just too many people. There are just too many applying. Generally, your applications are going to include all of those 5 points. So resume, cover letter, writing, sample references, and your transcript. So again, if this is something you want to do, get on it now. Get on with the registrar's website, order your transcripts, just have a copy on hand. Get your references from your professors, from your other employers. Now, if you are a 1L or a 2L who has, didn't clerk last summer yet, get references from somebody else. Even if it's not a legal job, you guys have great skills, and I think that's something that we forget. That we are strong and we are smart, and we were that way before we went to law school, and we had good life experiences before we went to law school. So instead of thinking, ooh, who would I have recommend me? I haven't maybe connected with any of my 1L professors. Let it go. Who did you connect with in undergrad? Ask that professor. Who did you connect with, in volunteering or any other real life good experience with the courts? As Professor Neitz was saying earlier on, it's not just research and writing. You are networking, you are seeing court processes, you're doing it's people skills as well as legal skills. For state court, and really every court, you're usually going to send a separate application per judge. So not very green, but that's the way it works. And don't wait. As soon as you know you want this, I have an extern working for Judge Hing in Alameda County this semester who got her externship a year ago. So if this is what you want, and you're contacting these judges or you're networking, you're at any sort of bar association or law student association meeting, and you meet anyone who works for the courts and they say, oh, we have everyone for summer. You say, great, how about the fall? Great, how about next spring? If this is what you want, keep asking, because no one else is going to ask for you, so keep on it. All right, so don't wait, get on it. And then more on application tips. No, this is not rocket science. This is all stuff you've heard before. Do what you can to personalize your application. I love Professor Neitz' story about, right away on her cover letter, she said, I disagreed with my judge. And this was the result. So if you have a good story, if you have a good lead-in, use it, of course. Extern evaluations, those are going to be on LCS online as well. Okay, so what does that mean? Everyone who's been through the courts, after they finish an externship, they should, it's not required, but they should be evaluating their experience and leaving those comments for you guys in a database to be able to access. So, some of them are going to be anonymous if they weren't so great, but if they aren't, if they've got the student's contact information, why not call that student? What if you know that student? And then in your application or when you make that call, you say, I know Susie, I know she worked with you, she had a great experience, and here's why I want to work with you too. So the network is built in here already, so tap into what's already been done, so you don't have to be working so hard all the time. Look at judicial profiles. Do you know what those are? Any good idea? Okay, so newspapers, Daily Journal and the Recorder have reporters who interview judges, and then those are published. I am partial to the Recorder. I interviewed almost 80 judges for them. It was a lot of fun, but I know LCS has the Daily Journal, so yeah. Even if I didn't write them, go learn about those judges. And search Lexis and Westlaw. Westlaw even has a short tutorial on how to find out more about your judge. So these resources are there. Ideology, a little bit on ideology. Even if you know that this judge was appointed by a Republican governor or during a Republican presidency and you're a Republican, that is probably not the best lead-in. Because despite the fact that judgeships are political, we all know this, you know, they are human beings, the political process and how people are either elected or appointed to their positions often has to do with politics. When they're on the bench, they are impartial. So that's not the way to get in, is to use, hey, by the way, I'm also in the same political party, or I'm also, you know, in that way. However, if that judge wrote an interesting and noteworthy opinion that you really resonated with you, that would be some way to connect. So in researching your judges in Lexis or Westlaw, you can absolutely look up some recent opinions and see what kind of work that they're doing. And then, of course, have someone review your application. We're all tired. I know you guys are working so hard. I think especially those 2 L's, you're just plowing right now. I know you're plowing. So having one other person look over that application and saying, you know you misspelled your own name or something, right? Just make sure, because those things happen when you're doing PowerPoints at 11:30 at night. So, yeah, have someone look it over, have someone give you feedback, be open to feedback, get excited. This is one of the best opportunities you can have in law school, and I really appreciate your time.